We're here to solve this cave puzzle by Michael Tang called Sevens. The theme should hopefully be pretty self-evident. Not only are all the clues sevens, but there's this big 7 in the center of the grid where the corner of that 7 already sees all the cells around it for a total of 7. There's a typical cave heuristic where you have to avoid making a checkerboard pattern, so this can't be inside the cave. With this pattern, we'll just sort of shade this off. Hopefully that's something you sort of recognize now. The 7 can't come to the right because it would take too many. Again, we then can shade this off to avoid a checkerboard. So this 7 instead has to come to the left too and mark this in. So this is how I get started in the puzzles, mark the center space. These two 7s that touch are going to have to work together and have the same vertical number. And so I can see 3, 4, 5, 6 without coming up one, but they'll both have to come up one for the same logic. That means this 7 here can't go to the right, it's got to come to the left too, and that gets it finished. Got some more we can do, like this can see as many as 5 cells without coming to the left, so it's got to come to more, at least 2 to the left. This 7 can see 6 without going to the right one. The 7 can see 6 without coming up one. The 7 can see 6 without going down one. I think those are starting pieces. A thing that I am noting, which is kind of an interesting meta constraint for the puzzle, is that we're going to have some challenges if this center section gets fully filled. And so specifically for this 7 clue here, if this 7 comes all the way down and takes all these cells inside the cave, notice it will then force these to be inside the cave, and that will complete this 7 clue, complete this 7 clue, complete this clue. And where these are completed, it means all these cells in blue will be outside the cave. So we'll have made a very solid 0 in the center of the grid, but that cave can't connect anywhere. And so there's a tension, which looks to be right here, that we probably can't take both of these cells. And for sure the 7 has to come down 1, but that means this cell is the one that isn't taken. So this 7 takes these up above, but for the reasons we said of not forming the central 0, this has to be shaded. This goes to the left as we've marked. The 7 also needs to take as many as 5, but we've now completed that clue. This 7 has to come over 1, avoid a checkerboard pattern, comes to here. This is marked off, this is marked off, so this 7 has to come up to get these cells. These 7s at the top have 6 taken, so they won't be able to take more than 1 in those directions. So we'll come back and then use that. Like this 7 can take 4 in this row now, 5, 6, 7. If it actually shaded this cell, I would take as many as 8 in that column. That's not going to work. So this is off. Just for a checkerboard pattern, this is also off. So the 7 gets completed this way. The 7 now also has just 7 cells for it, so we can mark those in pretty quickly. This 7 is going to have to connect into the bottom of the puzzle, so it's going to have to take these cells, and to avoid a checkerboard, it's going to take this cell. This 7 has just enough space for all its space to get 7 filled in. The 7 has to take these, but not this one. This has 5, can't take 3 more, so it takes these 2 more. Gets finished here. That now means this can't take more than 1 more in that direction. For sure, this cell isn't shaded, and actually these have to get to the edge of the grid, so this has to come in, and by checkerboard rule, this has to get marked over. Coming back to then the shading, this 7 can only come up 1, so it can take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That now actually finishes 7. This has to come here. This is going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so it has to come to the left. That now means these join together, and if this 7 can only come up 1, the 7 can't take this cell, which because it would force it to come up 2. So this is unused, which means this cell is unused. It means for this to get a total of 7 in the space, this has to be shaded, and this is not. Checkerboard rule there. These clues around the 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 look good. The 7 up here, we've marked these X's, but actually we now know this for sure. This is in, this is out. So here is this stalling point of the puzzle. Trying to see what's most key here. I think probably connectivity of the cave looks key here. So there's one way that this puzzle goes where this cell is inside the cave, and that would finish out this 7 clue, finish out this 7 clue. And notice that then this group on the left side has no way to connect to the rest of the cave on the right side of the grid. These would be a shaded block that's fully filled, form an island. So this blue cell is not inside the cave, it's outside the cave so that everything gets connected. That means these are shaded. The 7 has to come to the right to get as many as 7 cells. It takes this cell to avoid a checkerboard pattern, comes up here. This 7 can only take these 7 cells, so that's forced. These cave cells, sorry, these shaded cells outside the cave have to get to a border of the grid, so that's got to be shaded here. That puts these in for this 7. This 7 has to see a total of 7 cells. You can get up to 5, 6, 7, but in doing that actually gets all the 7 it has. So that shading finishes out the grid. So some pretty tricky tracking throughout the puzzle, but a key early step was just seeing the central feature with the 7s given, where we had to get one of these 2 cells shaded, particularly this bottom one, so that you could make this a valid clue. And in doing that, we got sort of an isolated right side of the grid and then a potentially isolated left side of the grid to be the last stages through the puzzle. So hope you got something through this video, some tips and tricks for other cave puzzles during this week, and we'll see you again soon.